Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Chloe and today I'm going to be filming my October reading wrap up, and honestly, only read 4 books this month. I finished a lot of them closer to the end of the month, so let's just get going with this. The first book that I read this month, practically everyone has said to me they're surprised I've read it because I don't seem like the type of person to read that book. It is Death Note, which is currently a trending manga book, I guess is the best way to put it. I honestly just wanted to see what the hype was about because everyone was talking about it and loads of people were borrowing it and reading it and things like that. So I was just like, do you know what? Let's borrow it from the library, let's read it, let's see what it's like. It took me longer than I thought it would. Like, it honestly did. Obviously I read Heartstopper, which was like a comic-y type book. I thought it would be quick like that, but it really wasn't because I did have to pay attention. I gave it 3 stars. I did enjoy it. I think I kind of thought halfway through, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to continue with this series because it is like a series. But then I got to the end and I was like, actually, now I do want to find out what happens. So I do have the second book, which is the 3rd and 4th volume, sat upstairs at the moment, but I haven't yet started it. So I'm kind of like, I don't know whether to just search for spoilers and just look online, because I feel like that might save me some time. But I don't know, because I probably would enjoy reading the next one as well. I did enjoy this one once I got into it. But yeah, I mainly just wanted to see what the hype was about, and it was good. I will admit it was very good. I feel like I would also read it if it was a book. Like, if it was a physical book as well, like not manga, like proper words, like the elongated version, because let's be honest, if this was written as a book it'd be 400 pages as well, but there'd just be no images, and I don't know how they'd make it like that. But yeah, I'd also read it if it was a book as well. But I did really enjoy it, and we'll see if I get on to the next one. Who friggin' knows at this point? Anyway, the next book that I read was I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness by Austin Channing Brown. Now, I have had this book sat upstairs for a while, and I read this because in my lifespan development module at university, we were learning about white privilege and racial inequalities, gender inequalities, everything like that. So, obviously when I read like the title of the book, I knew it would be written by someone of a different race, obviously that wasn't white. But Austin Channing Brown, one of the main points of the book is that she is a woman, and a woman of a different race, and she is always assumed to be a white woman. Not a white woman, a white man. Oh my god. Because we hear the name Austin and we think, oh yeah, that's a middle-aged white man because of the type of name it is. And the book was really, really, really insightful, honestly. I made so many notes from it, and I have a whole document on my laptop, I think. Let me pull it up, because there was so much that I just thought, and I was like, oh, that's such a good thing to like make note of that was said. She asks her parents why they gave her the name that she did, and they responded that we knew anyone who saw it before meeting you would assume you're a white man. One day you'll have to apply for jobs, and we just wanted to make sure that you could make it to the interview stage. Because they knew once people met her in interview they'd love her, but they didn't want her to be rejected because she was a woman of colour. So they gave her a white man's name, and she resented it for a while because it was on her, but then she realised, actually no, that wasn't on her, that was on other people for making that assumption. And the things that she was exposed to even from a child of people's prejudice and stereotypes around that name, I was just astounded. And yeah. There was one point that, one thing that I took away from the book, is she was in a room and students were learning about the history of Black people, and all of the white students turned around and excused the behaviour, saying like that it wasn't them and that they can't do anything about it because they weren't the ones that did it. Until one student stood up and said, I don't know what to do with what I've learned. I can't fix your pain and I can't take it away, but I see it. And I can work for the rest of my life to make sure that your children don't have to experience the same pain of racism. Doing nothing is no longer an option for me. And that really, like, it really made me emotional reading that, because I'm like, there is nothing that you can do now. There is, but there's nothing that you can do that will take away what's already happened, and there's nothing that you can do that's going to be an instant change, because there's so many people out there with so much prejudice and stereotypes and privilege that it's ridiculous and it's not used for good. And yeah, it's just like white supremacy is just, I think this book just opened my eyes so much more, reading someone's perspective on what they've been through, because it's something that I'd always thought about, but I felt like as a white person I didn't know enough about it, and I didn't really know how to educate myself either. And then my module came around and I was learning a lot, and I was like, do you know what, I'm going to pick up this book now, because I was in a reading slump still, and I was like, I'm going to do it because I'm going to do it for the module, because then it'll be like I'm doing uni work, like as in to make myself read and get myself back into reading, because I was like, it'll actually benefit me. And I did. I made literally a page and a half of notes, and it's just, yeah. And then it literally says, at one point in the book, it says the amount of white people that expect Black people to be white is ridiculous, because they're expecting everyone to conform to our norms, and it's just not okay. And yeah, honestly, I feel like this whole period when I was reading this book, it made me want to buy a lot more books that are a lot more kind of educational and focus on things like this, and just educate myself in general, not just on that, but also like the gender inequalities and things like that. And I am going to order a lot more books. I've created myself like a little wish list, and I think I'm going to ask for them for Christmas. But I feel like even when I was reading this book, even my For You page on TikTok and things like that became very focused on these kind of topics. But yeah, I think the book really opened my mind. I do really want to read more kind of non-fiction-y books that will teach me something, because I think it's really important to use books for power and to learn things, and it's important not just to read fiction all the time. So yeah, I gave this book 5 stars, as I always do with kind of personal memoirs and stories, but I think this one I was a lot more reflective on, and I don't have the book with me, I think it's upstairs, but I literally was pulling out tabs, I was highlighting stuff, like I was annotating this book because I knew I wanted to keep it. And yeah, it was a real eye-opener, I think. Anyway, moving on back to fiction, I next read, this is a book that's been recommended to me for a while, but a lot of people have said to me, I think you'd really enjoy it, but I don't think you should read it. Because of kind of personal experiences and stuff, they were like, I don't think you should read it, but you'd really enjoy it. So that was My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. Finally got around to reading it. I was just like, do you know what, screw it, everyone's spoken to me about it. Literally so many people have raved about it, and so I just decided to do it. I just decided to buy the book and read it, and I obviously knew the trigger warnings and I knew what was going to happen in the book and whatnot, but I was so blown away, honestly. I think Kate Elizabeth Russell did an absolutely amazing job with this story, and I think the way that she wrote it is is that the right word? The way that she'd written it, my god, English is going out the window today. But her writing is just phenomenal, and I think for me it was kind of like how Vanessa felt about, obviously it's her teacher, but how she felt about, what was his name? How she felt about Mr. Strain, Jacob Strain, and how she protected him, and she genuinely believed that he loved her, and how everything like that happened just blew me away. It honestly did, because there was points where I was like, why are you protecting him? Like, why are you not speaking out now? And I understand, because she didn't want that label and she didn't want people to associate that with her. But a lot of that was enforced from him, because he'd told her that if people found out, that would never leave her, and that she wouldn't be believed, and that would follow her for the rest of her life, and no one would want her as a result. And I think I wish there was more at the end. I wish there was a second book or something where we see her starting to love herself and live on her own. And the end really made me cry. Nothing specific happens, but I think it's just where she and one of the other kind of victims were talking, and I just sat there and I just sobbed, because I don't want to say too much and I don't want to reveal what happens and what is said, but she felt responsibility for what happened, and it just made me absolutely sob, because you could tell this was the 15-year-old in her coming out and being like, and like her as like growing up, going and feeling like it was her, like thinking that everything that happened from that point forwards was her responsibility. And I just sobbed, because she was a child. It was just very emotional at the end. It did make me cry. I did thoroughly enjoy reading it. As horrible as that sounds, like it was an awful story, an absolutely awful story, but I think it was written so well and I connected so well. And yeah, I just, props to Kate Elizabeth Russell, because I don't think I could ever write something like that, and it was such a tough read. It was really hard, but I gave it 4.5 stars, and yeah, hats off to her, because that writing was just phenomenal. Anyway, we're already on 16 minutes and I've spoken about 3 books. Can we tell that I can remember more this month? Because my last video was 15 minutes long and I was speaking about 12 books because I had no idea or no recollection of any of them. Anyway, hoping this one will be a little bit quicker, and that is Catching Fire, which is the second book in the Hunger Games series by Suzanne Collins. Now, this series has obviously blown up recently, specifically since, what's the name of the new, oh yeah, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Since that's come out, Hunger Games has blown up again, and I'm talking, it is so popular at the moment. It's huge. I think when Suzanne Collins came up with this idea, absolutely on a winner, because it's such a good story. I'd only ever watched the films up until this year. I'd never read the books, and reading this book, I was so annoyed that no one had ever exposed me to Hunger Games before in my life, because I would have loved to read these books before I watched the films, because they are just so good and so descriptive and just, it's so good. I really want to watch the film again now, because I feel like I was reading a lot in this and I was kind of like, oh, was that missed out? And I can't remember 100% because I haven't watched the second one in a while. And all I kept thinking about was like the next part of this book, which is Mockingjay, the third book, and all I kept thinking about was what comes next. And it's really annoying because I just kept thinking about that, and then I was like, I'm getting really close to the end of this book, and I was like, oh my god, is it not going to happen? And then I realised, no, Chloe, there's a third book because there's also 3 films. I forgot that it was like 3, and like I was just thinking, oh my god, I wonder if she doesn't cover it. And then I realised, I went and searched and I was like, no, there is another one. So I've now got the 3rd book sat upstairs. I borrowed these from the library, but I do want to buy them, and I want to buy them in the new cover where it's like, I'll stick them up here. I want to buy them and I want to have them on my bookshelf when I have a solid bookshelf that's a bit bigger than the one that I have at the moment. But yeah, I really wish I'd read them before, because that would have been so life-changing. And yeah, I just really enjoyed reading it though. It was a really quick read considering I knew what happened already. And yeah, anyway, that's that. I'm gonna end this video here. I don't think I said, but I gave Catching Fire 4.5 stars as well. But yeah, I'm gonna end this video here. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you again soon for a brand new video. Bye!